And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tim Gillette, and this is the Tim Gillette Show, where we interview the most interesting people on the planet. They're the coolest people, too. I mean, I think I usually say coolest, but interesting, coolest, you know what I mean? Let's face it, these are cool people. They wouldn't be on my show if they weren't. Today's guest, I really am going to get to know. This is going to be the first time I've ever talked to her, and I love it when I get to know people live on air. As you know, this is what the show is about, getting to know them, their business, and what they do at the same time you do. All right. I love it. Today's guest, Tracy Lamourie. All right. I can't even tell you where we connected. All right. Just she's on the show, and I love how people do this. By the way, you can do it too. You can apply to be on the show. All right. Go to timgillette.com/podcast interview, and it walks you through the whole process. All right. If you're a qualified person, what we're looking for, by all means, we'll get you on the show. With that, let's bring up today's guest, Tracy Lamourie. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, hello. How are you?
All right. How are you?
I am doing very well.
So here's what's really cool. I don't even know where you live. I barely know a little bit about what you do. I don't even know who connected us. I really don't.
It's all a mystery.
I know. Isn't life great?
So yeah, I'm actually up there, way up there right now in Canada. So I'm on the other side of the border.
You're one of those people. Yeah.
I'm one of those people, yeah. Though I've quite often, if you talk to me in 2019, I might be there or there or there or there or there before this last, COVID thing, when all the borders and flights got less than fun. Yeah. I was all over the place. So normally, like in 2019, I was literally all over the states, Washington, D.C., Vegas, L.A., Ohio, all for different work projects. So yeah, I'm a publicist, and I work internationally across borders, across industries, and basically the way I describe PR, it's not about spin. It's not about like people that have done bad things and need to be covered up. Nothing like that. That's not what I do. I don't like to work with politicians or giant corporations that have made mistakes or anything. I like to work with either creatives or small businesses. I do some Hollywood kind of stuff, but primarily creatives and small businesses, entrepreneurs, and elevating and celebrating what they do. Basically shining a light on the amazing things that other people are doing and helping them build their reputation for thought leadership and getting quoted in media and getting interviewed on podcasts and also in mainstream media, TV, radio, newspapers, all that fun stuff.
So you've come to the States on a regular basis. All right. Of all the cities you've come to, you can avoid that Washington, D.C. area. Just like stay out of there.
It was a little crazy.
There, man.
Yeah, it's a a little crazy. Washington, D.C.
I was actually New York that are getting that way. So I don't know.
Washington was a surprise. I was there, not about the politics or anything, but just the scale of it. I would never realize, you see all these buildings like the Supreme Court and the Capitol building, on TV your whole life, but you don't actually realize how massive they are in size. Yeah. And when you think about the fact that they were built at the time before America was a superpower, really, right? And they were built to say, we're here, to look like Europe, but bigger.
It's just a great sign to show, not just America, but to show our technology of our world. All right. When you go back and see a building that was built like 300 years ago and the size of it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought the guys were having a hard time putting up my 2-story house.
Yeah, exactly. The scale is like, whoa, like you don't realize, like you see those big Supreme Court columns, but you're standing there and you're literally like this and they're like this. So you're like, it's supposed to be awe-inspiring, but America. And then I got to see the Grand Canyon for the first time last year in 2019, which is your classic Americana. So I'm really happy. I got to take my son there, and he was obviously blown away by that. We went on a family trip there. And
it's a big hole in the ground.
Yeah, that's what I expected it to be. I was like, what the hell? Oh, whatever, But when you actually go and look at it, I still tell people, I'm like, no, it's like otherworldly. Yeah, when you're looking at it, you're like, your brain can't process. You're like, am I looking at Mars? Yeah, and I still think, what did people thought when they first came here and they were, from Europe or whatever, and they're like walking, la, la, la. Oh, what the hell is that? Like, you literally would have thought you were at the edge of the earth.
Crap, where'd the road go? Yeah. My wife took her oldest son many, many years ago there. Like I think he was still in his teens at the time for the first time. All right. And he talked about going there the whole time. And he gets there, he walks out of the car, he walks up to the edge. Goes, okay, cool. And he walks back and gets in the car.
That's
it. He's like, no, it took us hours to drive here. Get out here.
Yeah, it was like a 10-hour drive from Vegas, or like a 7-hour drive from Vegas. My son was the same. He's like, okay, that was really cool. I got a burger. Can we leave? I'm like, stop. I'm looking at it. So yeah.
No, Vegas. All right. You know what I mean? I grew up on the East Coast and, you know, lived Philadelphia, Boston, New York area. All right. Poconos is where I grew up, and I lived and did work in New York, Philadelphia, and Boston. And then the very first time I ever took a trip out west to a major city was Las Vegas. That was in 1996 or 7 that I actually got on a plane. I mean, I was in the car wash business. How often does a person in the car wash business have to get on a plane? All right. You know, they used to say, hey, if you have to take your car wash equipment on the plane, maybe it's time to reconsider your territory. But no, I went to a convention and I went to Vegas, and I was like, so when I got out there, I was like, wait a minute, I kind of like the West. I got to get away from the East. I hate the East now. I mean, and that was like the whole start of it. From the time that happened, within 1.5 to 2 years, I was moving to California, but ended up in Dallas. And I sold my business, walked away.
Yeah, I could see that. I fell in love with. I've only been to LA in California so far, and I did not expect to like love it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm a city girl, and whatever, city's a city. But like when I was in Santa Monica and just on the beach in Santa Monica with the city, the entertainment capital behind me, what I'm used to, a big city.
Yeah.
But I'm on a beautiful beach, and to my right, I was literally again awe-inspiring mountains. I was like, oh my God. So now my plan was literally to start spending like 2 months a year in California because I can take my business anywhere. I wanted my husband and, you know, kid to check it out. But then again, everything went stupid and cross border is just not fun until they straighten everything out. I'm not having a million tests on every side. You know, like,
in 2010, we did, you know, my wife has been traveling for her business since 2010. And she had some things she had to go do in San Diego. And she's like, why don't you come out and we'll go to the beach while we're out there? I'm like, okay, cool. So we rented a beach house in 2010, just north of LA, like mid beaches, north of San Luis Obispo area. And I said, well, I'm going to ride my motorcycle out. So I did. I rode the motorcycle out, and then I rode my motorcycle all the way to Seattle, and then all the way through Montana and west, and came through and back down to the Dakotas and back down on the bike. But I mean, I rode out on the bike and I was like, yeah, this is cool. It wasn't until I went there in the car in 2012 with my father-in-law, I drove out for a business conference, and we drove back, and we're driving back, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome, man. Look at those mountains. And like, I never caught him on the bike. All right. But like, I think it was because like we were coming back in March and there was like weather, and so they had snow on them. So, I mean, they really stood out when there's like snow.
It looks so different, even just the landscape too. Like even just driving, thinking about that trip on, you know, to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That through the desert, which you've only ever seen in like, you know, horror movies or something, you know, when they try to make it like all icy. But it really is, you know, you see that weird little brush. I don't even know the fauna, that weird little brush. And then the black rocks, like some of the rocks and little short mountains and hills that are like, they look almost volcanic. Yeah, and then the next one. Yeah. So. Yeah, travel. I miss it. It was definitely a pleasure that's one of the perks of my job. I'm lucky to say it's 15 hours a day in my office, not doing much, or like doing a lot of work, but not exciting work at my desk and strategy and all that. And then tempered by VIP parties and really good travel when the world is open.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, the world being shut down. Did your business stop, or did you still find work during that time?
I did. At first, in March, I lost probably 80% of my business because a lot of it was all planned. We were planning all kinds of in-person events, and speaking engagements, and reality TV, and all kinds. And that was all a hard stop, music stuff. So like everybody else, I was just watching Canadian TV and American TV and every politician in the world and everything for like 2 weeks, just going, like, what's going on? And then I realized, well, if I lost 80% of my business, I still have 20% of my business. And it'd be better to go away from this screen and get back to work. And as soon as I went back to work, I managed to pivot, you know, into a lot of authors. And then a lot of other people, I guess people were finding something to do, you know, when they lost their jobs and everything. So I ended up finding a lot more things came my way to be promoted. So I ended up being just as busy this year, if not more busy. But at the beginning of the year, it looked scary. In March, I was like, oh boy, because we had planned for a whole different year, right? And then we ended up being able to pivot. So
yeah, I mean, you know, I've had these cycles as a traveling speaker, and 2020, man, I mean, I was just ramping up. I mean, I had 20 some odd speaking gigs lined up until June, and I think I got as far as 6 of them. And like in March, I was in just before California shut down. March, I actually got on a plane in the beginning of March. I fly out to LA, and then I go down 2 gigs, LA, and then down in Orange County. And I get there off the plane, and every TV is saying how the governor of California is shutting California down. I'm like, oh crap! I hope I can get out of here in 2 days.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I thought, like, you know, it was the end of the world for me. And like, I called my wife, and I'm like, I can't believe they're shutting California down. And she says, oh, they'll never do that in Texas.
Yeah.
Famous last words there. Yeah. But,
yeah, it's crazy. It's been an interesting year.
Yeah.
You know, the ancient Chinese curse, they say, may you live in interesting times. But in a way, you know what? I wouldn't have wanted to miss this either. Who would have ever thought we would have seen, like, would you have believed this?
No.
Well, you didn't. If they told you in 2019 what we were going to see, like, and then the craziest part to me was like, it's everywhere. You can't just, because again, like you, I'm a traveler.
Yeah,
I'm used to getting on a plane. And it's like, no, I can't get on the plane and go somewhere where it's different. It's the same thing everywhere right now.
Yeah.
So.
And that was it. I mean, my wife, I mean, same thing. She traveled for, she travels to do sales. So she travels to meet with executives. Couldn't get on a plane to go to these executives because none of them are meeting in their office. So she was actually, and even then, she didn't work at her office. She moved her office here to the house, and she's doing conference calls with them. So now I've got two. I mean, I'm a broadcast studio in here, but now I've got two broadcast studios going on in the house.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi that was meant to handle one, and I'm like, oh crap. You know what I mean?
Imagine if you have 3 kids and they're all doing the school Zooms or something, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we don't. Our kids are all grown up. We're lucky on that.
Same.
But, I mean, but we have a 2-bedroom condo, but I'm in the 2nd bedroom, which is my studio, but it's an open to the living room before. There's not a door, so I can't close it off. She's downstairs, and then it's like this big cathedral ceiling. And we're both loud talkers. If you can imagine, we're both loud talkers. Yeah. I'm doing a 2-day virtual conference, and my event planner friend from California is listening in, and she texts me in the message, you know, I can hear your wife in your broadcast talking on the phone downstairs.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Anyway. The things we had to go through, and these are things we're going to tell our grandkids. You would
in
not
2020
what we went through in 2020.
Yeah,
you know, it's like our parents saying they had to walk uphill both ways in the snow to go to school. We're like, we actually had to have 5 people on the Wi-Fi at one time.
Yeah. We were these little Zoom boxes.
Yeah. So we couldn't even go to get a hamburger at McDonald's. We were so broke and poor and busted, and yeah.
Oh, and in Canada, there was a meme going around because, you know, cannabis is legal in Canada coast to coast. Yeah. And so there was a meme, and just a stupid little internet meme that was saying, and it was something like, you know, someone gathering with your friends to smoke a joint. And they were saying, who would have thought that it's the first part that would be illegal? The gathering with your friends, the part that's illegal now. You know, the joint's fine, no problem. Yeah. Honestly, who would have thought?
never in a million years. But anyway, so I mean, so you were able to connect with and do some work during it. All right, and
yeah,
I like that you pivoted, you found work. All right, the clients who left, have many of them just gone out of business, or they just went, you know what I mean? I got to cut this out of my budget.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that it was more, those were all like entertainment focused things. So their events just aren't happening. So we're still trying to do, you know, they just don't have those events anymore. There's no stages. There's no, you know, so they're just kind of on hold. They don't have, you know, there's nothing for us to promote. So we're all hoping together that those events come back, and we have, you know, some people have stayed with me. You know, some of those artists have stayed with me to a limited basis. We're still doing other kinds of promotions for them, you know, but yeah, in terms of like, I mean, I was supposed to be in the States going to, like, there's supposed to be some reality TV thing that was based on like a music show. They were going to have all kinds of different artists in a bus, and I was supposed to be the publicist playing myself, you know, going through Seattle, Washington, you know, yes. Whatever, the whole West Coast. Mm-hmm. And that was planned. We were supposed to be in Kansas City for a wine and jazz festival that we were supposed to be the primary PR team on for like a whole month in August. So all things that, you know, all those kind of things were just not happening anymore. They just, no. So I was able to pivot, but they weren't. Those kind of things, I mean, they can't really, right? So
you mentioned Kansas City. One of my closest friends is a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. He has been since the last time they won a Super Bowl. Like, that's how long he's been a fan, right? And he said after the Kansas City Chiefs won in 2020, and then the world started to shut down, he says, if I'd only known that the world was going to shut down after Kansas City won the Super Bowl again, I would have never wanted the Kansas City to win the Super Bowl as a Kansas City fan. Anyway, did I lose you? Oh my God. Did you blink out or did I? Tracy, if you're there, tap on the screen. I think I lost Tracy. So anyway, let's see if this works. Let's reboot this. Tracy, are you there? We lost Tracy. I'm sure she will be back in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, in the meantime, why don't you, write down, if you have a question, put it down in the comments. All right, put it with a question mark so we know to ask Tracy your question based on PR needs. What are you doing on PR? All right, because that's what she specializes in, as we were going to get to here in the interview. I'm sure she'll pop back in here in a moment, and we would love to get her to answer your questions. In the meantime, all right, this is the Tim Gillette Show, which we host a couple times a week. All right, you can go to timgillette.com/podcast interview and be on the show. Check out some of the things that we actually do, as well as we have a YouTube channel. We have a subscription on Apple Podcasts, as well as we do events called Simple Easy Events. Go check out simpleeasyevents.com while we wait for our guest to pop back in, because technology is always grand on days like today. So, in the meantime, let's get it all back to working. See, I knew you'd come back.
My computer died. I don't know what's going on. The interwebs died on my computer. So we're back on my cell phone, my backup plan.
Successful people have a backup plan, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, everybody.
Hey, it's cool. All right. I just did some stuff there. Maybe some people pop some questions in there. So, I was just talking about, about the, the deal with Kansas City. A friend of mine thought Kansas City, after they won the Super Bowl, that meant the world was going to shut down. If he'd known that, he wouldn't have wanted them to win the Super Bowl. But anyway, so you were going to go to some of these musical things. All right. Do you work with any, have you worked with any like famous bands that we know? Or did you go out again? I love it how she goes out with a smile. She's popping. Is it going to come back? Ladies and gentlemen, we always love technical difficulties because they happen on occasion, because we can never never predict what the internet is going to do. So while Tracy's coming back, I'll tell you guys a little story. Is a friend of mine actually was hosting. There she is. I love it.
Having some bad luck here. I'm the worst guest.
Hey, it's all right. We go with the flow. So
this is my fault, you guys. Not his fault. Not his fault. Not his fault. My fault.
So Tracy, I was asking there. What are some of the you said you work with some bands and stuff like that. What are some of the musicians you've worked with? Do we know any of them?
I'm working with people and they start to develop them, and so then they go. I've worked with DJ Speedy. He's not a client of mine in terms of, but I'm an agent for him. He's got over 60 top 100 Billboard hits. Producer for Beyonce, Jay-Z, Waka Flocka, all kinds of guys like that. One that I'm really excited right now, who's a rising star, who we just got him in BET, on Rolling Stone, in where else? On Sirius XM, on Fox Soul, is Jimmy Dennis, who, and funnily enough, I learned how to write my first press release way before I ever thought of being a publicist, working with Jimmy Dennis, when he was an innocent man sentenced to death on death row in Pennsylvania, where he spent 25 years. And then my husband and myself, we actually led the Justice for Jimmy team, which was an activist thing that we did years ago. In 2017, he was released on evidence of actual factual innocence. And since then, he's been, recording music and getting a lot of attention in the entertainment world, as well as, absolutely tons of attention in the wrongful conviction world and the justice world for a precedent-setting case, and, just unraveling all kinds of corruption that had been going on in the city's police department, all kinds of fun stuff like that. But he's now a recording artist and, really making an impact and starting to get a lot of media attention. And his name is Jimmy Dennis. So you can find him at Jimmy Dennis Music. And then another one is, again, so developing these people to get them. I've gotten Bolu, who's a 13-year-old Canadian, with a song called Make It Right and a couple of other songs now. Mm-hmm. And I literally saw her playing at like a little community event. And I've got her on TV all over Canada and Australia's biggest television network, starting to make inroads. We're just starting to start our US, attack. So that's what I find fun, is like the most fun is like starting with here with the person, and then by the end of the year we're here, and then we can be like, oh, you know what? Look at the Grammy, look at that. Right now I'm working with a filmmaker who literally just put out we're working on a couple different projects, a television project, a long film project, and he put out a short film right now that we're all up literally walking on air about, because the 17-minute short film has been sent to the head of one of the biggest film festivals in the world, and they came back with a extremely positive review. And that's someone who's been on the film, what do you call them, juries for like a ton of festivals from all the big ones, TIFF, cons, and so it's really neat to be able to start with people at their level and then help bring them up to through contacts that I have, and develop their talents that way. It's my biggest thing.
That's cool. And then you said you kind of started working with authors and stuff. What are you doing with the authors, on the virtual side right now?
So a lot of the authors, in terms of obviously, getting their books reviewed, getting them interviewed, getting them out in interviews, getting the authors themselves interviewed. If it's nonfiction, obviously they're all an expert in something, depending on what their book's about.
Yeah.
Find opportunities for them to be quoted in mainstream media about, whether it's from Reader's Digest to the New Yorker to New York Times, Oprah magazine, all that stuff. We've gotten clients in recently to talk about whatever their expertise is. And, as a publicist, we write press releases and reach out to media. But then there's also all kinds of sources similar to Matchmaker and Podmatch and those services that connect guests with high profile podcasts. There's also a lot of services for publicists where reporters are on deadline, and actually entrepreneurs can access them too, but they're definitely major tools for us, where reporters are on deadline doing stories about whatever, are looking for sources. And so that's one easy way to get your client in. Like I've got my client in Good Housekeeping in Oprah.com and the New Yorker in the List and New York Times, Reader's Digest, just by following up on those, not even talking about the press releases we do. So people should know there's a ton of opportunities, no matter what you do or who you are or what your expertise is, whether you're an author, public speaker, or just an expert by virtue of whatever you do in your business. You're an expert. Like some of my clients, I have an expert, like a luxury real estate agent. I have a woman who started a forensics business. I have a lot of people in health. I have a personal chef. So it's people like that, and I find opportunities for them to be quoted in big name media and build their careers that way.
And it is important, all right. And I've got a friend who's a plumber who started doing YouTube videos, and now he's known as an expert plumber around the country. And he's I think he's flying today to go do this whole video series at a plumbing factory of products, and because people are calling him now. Hey, can we be on your show?
Yeah, exactly. So now he's that influencer, right? He's opened up a whole other career for himself with that.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's the same thing with me. Even me, I was, already had a reputation as a publicist within business. I was able to get all my clients. I'm doing all this great PR work. And now I realize, without even meaning to, I've opened up a whole other business for myself, because I have not only been just putting my clients on podcasts, but I started to do podcasts and panels and speaking engagements, talking about what I do and educating people on PR and all that. And so now I realize, wow, now that I didn't even mean to, but now that I've got over 180 of those when you Google my name, now what have I just created for myself? A whole career if I wanted to stop doing PR and actually just talk about it and educate. I spend my whole day educating entrepreneurs on why they should have it. I could just go and get those speaking engagements. So you develop whole other avenues for yourself based on that as well, other opportunities to open up.
Yeah, we host two events. We do Simple Easy events, which are virtual, and then we do Blog and VideoCon, the live event, and we tell people secrets about that. All right, which I'm not going to share in the show because they've got to come to my event to figure them out.
They got to go watch it. Yeah. But
you and I know them, all right? But they have to connect with us to find them out.
Are those panels you do?
Huh?
Are those events you do, with speakers?
Yeah, I do. I do one event that's virtually every month called Simple Easy Events. All right, you can check out simpleeasyevents.com. But then we do Blog and VideoCon every November here in Dallas, Texas, and it's about blogs, videos as the centerpiece of what you do in your online marketing. And that's I got to be a blog expert. I started as a blog. So when I started my business, I just started blogging. I didn't know what I was going to do. And within 3 years, I'm at an event. And they're like, well, we want you to be a speaker because we like you. But we have a topic that nobody's willing to talk about. What we need. Will you talk about blogging? And I'm like, okay. And from the time I started doing that in 2013 to 2015, it became the number one topic I was asked to speak about.
There you go.
I never got into blogging to teach blogging.
Exactly. Like I was just doing the PR, but now I've been called on to do all these, and it is fun. And I realized, oh well, people actually don't have this information, and they actually do need this information. So there's value to that too, right?
Yeah.
And so, and now I'm thinking, gee, I've missed travel so much, and I definitely will not say no. I'm telling you, to a couple of speaking engagements on the other side of this. Oh, down in the land of palm trees.
So you're saying you're coming to Dallas eventually, right?
I am there. Yeah. I've been to Houston, but I've never been to Dallas yet.
So yeah, we're going to get you and your husband down here to Dallas, and my wife and I are taking you out for some barbecue.
Let's do it. That sounds good. Good Texas barbecue. That sounds good.
And then after the barbecue, because we don't have as much of this in Texas, but this is an American thing. You probably have it up there in Canada too. We have it at the house here, and it's called Moonshine.
Oh, yeah. They don't have that much in Texas. It seems like there would be.
There's some companies that make it in Texas, but Moonshine is an American whiskey that the best thing that makes it the best is the water it's made from.
Oh,
that's why Tennessee Moonshine is like the best.
Oh, I was going to say the word Tennessee. Like Tennessee comes to mind when you say that. Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize that was but it was like about the water or something interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
the water is like the root thing. Like, the other place would be the Rocky Mountains water. All right. But I don't know any Rocky Mountain distilleries yet. I know there's some yet. I'll find them.
You'll find them.
Yep, I will. But like Arkansas is a stone throw from us, and there's some good rivers and water up there. My wife and I were there this last weekend, and we found a distillery in Arkansas that makes a whole different brand of moonshine that we'd never tasted, a different combination. Oh, wow. So yeah.
And they're making it right there. So that's probably like really, that's neat.
So yeah, when you come to Texas, we're going to explore with you guys. You and your husband, me and my wife, we're going to have some good old times when you come down here.
I'm in. Sounds good. As soon as they stop that cross border, you have to 14-day here and 12. I'm just, that's like you said, I don't want to get stuck somewhere that I'm in, like, oh my goodness. But I think
it could be expensive. Like, my brother lives in New Zealand, and like, you fly into New Zealand, you're put up in a hotel for 14 days, and that's a bill you got to pay.
That's what they're doing in Canada now. I think I just heard that they're challenging it in the courts.
Yeah.
But that's what they were saying, because they were trying to discourage the snowbirds who, take off every few months, and people were still flying, and they're like, that's it, you're going to have to. And they were being really restrictive about it too. Like apparently guards outside of the hotel and all that stuff. Canadians are like, wait a minute, what? That's a little heavy handed. So I think it's being challenged in court right now, but hopefully I think we're on the other end of it. I hope.
I think this thing's coming down. I think, I was talking with some of my people yesterday. I think, as the northern states here in America are going to have a little more hard time with it. Maybe you guys will, but I think the southern states, through the summertime anyway, it's really going to take a dive down and start to calm down. I don't know this thing. I'm not a scientist. I don't claim to be a scientist. All right. I've had COVID. I didn't think it was that bad. But I know people who've had it who really messed their world up. So, anyway, stay safe. Whatever you do.
We'll be traveling, and that won't be a restriction anymore. We'll be able to, do this travel thing.
Oh, I didn't know. So one of my faithful listeners, Robert Brooker, he's in Toronto. How far is that from you?
That's my hometown. I'm only 45 minutes from there in Hamilton now. I'm 40 minutes down the highway, but I'm a Toronto girl.
See that, Robert? You need to connect with this girl. I'm telling you, right then and there, Tracy's someone you got to connect with. So how about that? So Tracy, I always like to ask people when they come on my show, some of the questions I ask that really get to me. When I was younger, I was like in my early 20s, and I had a boss of a part-time job that gave me a piece of advice that I still till this day drive it in everything I do. And it was basically to tell me, to take ownership of my job, pretend like I owned the business. And I carry that with me. Everything I do today, I take ownership. Were you given a word of advice as a younger person that still drives you as a person today?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know whoever gave this advice to me specifically, but I know that I internalized this for sure. And I probably got a bunch of messages, and certainly Jimmy Dennis, has helped internalize it too. But even when I was younger, I never give up, and I was always, bold. I don't know if you want to say brave or just bold, or I never really saw the restriction. I never allowed there to be a ceiling or whatever. I was whatever, keep on going. And because of that, I've never really felt restricted. I've never felt restricted, as because I'm a woman or because I'm a fat girl or because of whatever, because I just don't see that and I keep on going. And so I think, that attracts success.
Yeah, it does.
So I think don't be afraid and just, people hear this all the time and, be yourself, but they don't really, they don't do it, and I think honestly, just don't have that fear. Just, just do it. I don't want to sound like Nike. So instead of saying just do it, I'll say from Rocky Horror Picture Show, don't dream it, be it.
Yeah. So were you a Rocky Horror Picture Show girl?
I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Hell yeah. So
hell yeah.
Yeah. It's fun things we did as kids. Anyway, I haven't gone to see it again in ages. I mean, I think I went probably about 6 years ago was the last time I seen it. So
I could probably sing every word still though.
Yeah. Good times. So, I mean, being around the entertainment industry, was there certain entertainment that you liked that made you want to go into helping these people? Or was it something you just, fell into and it doesn't matter?
Well, so I grew up when I was in my younger days, when I was more motivated by entertainment, like I was a huge Beatle fan. Like, even though I was from the 80s, that was not my generation. The Beatles were from the 60s and I was growing up in the 80s. But, John Lennon was probably the biggest single influence on me caused me to be an activist and to be, to not be afraid to do shit. Actually, maybe I should have quoted John Lennon because he said, don't follow leaders. And, it was a quote from him where he was like, hey, if we're doing something cool and you think it's cool, great. But, maybe we'll follow you. If you want to do something cool, we'll follow. So they're really empowering kind of. I remember that when I was 12, when you still listen to your heroes and internalize that stuff, right?
Yeah,
so I picked a good hero that told me to stop watching my heroes and to start being one, and let other people follow you as well. Because I think we all are. I'm not being arrogant. I'm saying we all have that power if we actually do it, but we're too afraid to, and we don't speak out. We don't, we're afraid to. But yeah. Just do things and it works out.
Yeah. I got to agree with you. I mean, you go into some things with the attitude of you can't, and already, I mean, what is it? No, Henry Ford, if you believe you can, or you believe you can't, you're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've seen people, I've proven it, like in the last decade, because where I am now is not where I was 10 years ago. Like honestly, 10 years ago, there was times when I had to borrow $20 to get through the week. Honestly, 9 years ago, I remember clearly right before I started my business, like clearly remember that if my friend Sue, thanks Sue, and that $20 saved my ass that week. So that was 9 years ago. Big difference from where I am now, let me tell you, and like people, I know people who knew me then on the social media, great example, saw me where I was then and see me where I am now. And if you actually paid attention, I wasn't talking shit back then when I said, you can really do things. Just don't let anything stop you. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And all the people who were arguing with me, oh, no, you can't. You can't because this. You can't because that. I can't because this. I can't because that. And they are all in exactly the same place, still whining and complaining and talking about other people doing this and that. And I'm like, and I didn't have $1. I didn't have an investor. I didn't have anything but this and this,
Yeah.
And I use this and this instead of to complain and to bitch to find opportunities.
Cool. I mean, I did the same thing. I mean, in 2000 and like 2005, 2007, there was one point in time, I was so broke that I was in a Starbucks with meeting a friend, and they bought my drink. I was that broke. All right. Cause we were going there to meet, and a guy come up and I had this cool sweatshirt that I got from a band in the early 90s that said, Millionaire in Progress. And it had a Corvette on it, and it was like stitched. And this guy comes up and goes, man, that's a cool shirt. And I was so broke. I said, I looked at it. I looked at him and I said, I'll sell it to you for $20.
Yeah, right.
I was so broke. I took the shirt off my back in a Starbucks and sold it to the guy for $20.
And so people should take that as inspiration, because a lot of people at that point, they just think, oh, well, I'm here. Oh, the rich. Oh, this is bad. Oh, blame everybody, And there are obviously, I'm not, disputing that there's reasons and there's hardships and there's whatever. But at the end of the day, if you spend all day, you know what I mean? If you either do something to change that or you don't. But I mean, I'm not ashamed of talking about those things. I'm not proud to talk about how 10 years ago, even, what I would have been ashamed to say then. But now I'm proud to say, because you know what? We all deal with those struggles, like you just said, and if maybe not all, maybe some people have had charmed lives from the very beginning and they never had to worry about $20. But I mean, most of us, I think, did. That's what I tell my daughter. She's 28, and her partner now, they're 28, having their first baby, and they're just starting out there. We're starting out where everybody starts out.
Yeah.
And then you build, and that's where we all start out. Then you have,
Exactly. So, and it is, and all we do, I mean, those people who are going to motivate the next generation, all right, do something with what you have and then motivate the next generation to do something more. That's my opinion anyway. So
I'm with you.
Yeah. So, Tracy, it's been great having you on the show. What is the best website people can get a hold of you on?
So they can find me at my website, lamouriemedia.com. And yeah, lamouriemedia.com. And they can also find me on the socials on Instagram, Tracy Lamourie PR Media, or on LinkedIn, Tracy Lamourie. As long as you spell that like you got there, Lamourie. I'm the only one. I'm the only Tracy Lamourie. So you can.
Well, I mean, you got a free gift or something they can learn about PR from your website.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't have a book or anything yet, but I do work. I'm working on it, but I do work internationally, and I'm happy to give a free 30-minute consult or hour, whatever people want.
Cool.
If they hear this and they're interested, because we do mean you. Like no matter who you are, there's like I said, you know, no matter what you do, if it's your personal story you want to share, inspirational story, or something to do with your business you want to build, there are media opportunities absolutely for everybody. And I work anywhere in the anywhere where there's English speaking media, I have clients. So.
That is so cool. I appreciate you being on the show today and sharing with our guests. All right, some great information here, great inspiration too about where you came from. I love that. You know, your feedback today was really great. So
thank you.
Yep. So before you go, though, all right, I've got a little quiz I play with all of my guests to end my show. I got 9 questions, this or that, specifically for Tracy. You ready?
I am.
All right. Number 1, I ask everyone, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Star Trek. All right. So Kirk or Picard?
Ooh.
I know. The original Star Trek was great, but I think Picard was a better leader.
I'm not saying before my character, I think Picard. Yeah.
It's just weird. Like in Star Trek, people get that like the original series is great, but I'm sorry, Picard was a better leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
My next one here. All right. You know what I mean? Considering you're in this field, would you rather listen to a podcast or read a book?
Oh my gosh, that's hard because you know what? I'm such a reader. My whole life I've been a huge reader.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll never see me without not only a book but a magazine in my purse. Like I can't leave my house. Yeah. However, I'm addicted now to the Podbean, and I've got like a couple odd apps on my phone. Not just a bit. I mean, I'm crazy on the business ones now because they're way more interesting than I thought they could have been. You know that I'm listening to, and then also I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. That's my guilty pleasure.
Oh man,
a lot of just news stuff. Yeah, so cool. Yeah. I don't know if I can answer the either or. I literally love information. I love the written words. I guess if it was going to be literally either or, like desert island stuff, I guess I don't know because podcasts then I get more information for my dollar, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really love the written word too, so I don't know. I'm torn on that one.
Yeah. But all right, well, let me move on then. My next one. Are you a
both?
Huh?
I said I insist on keeping both.
Are you a dress-up girl or a yoga pants girl?
Lately dress up. I mean, yoga pants at home in the home. Okay. But if I can get to go out, I get the hair and I got the glasses and do my red nail. I'm all about the red and black signature color. So
cool. I like that you have signature colors in your wardrobe. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can really go out, I'll dress up.
Yeah. Now I move on to food products, and my next one I always ask everybody this one: hamburger or taco?
I'm gonna go taco.
Yeah. Come on. I mean, down here in Texas, taco. You can have shrimp taco.
Oh my God, that's right. When I went to Houston, that was the first thing I was like, I want to go to and get a real Mexican, actual, taco. Taco. Not like we get up in Canada with, but an actual. And yeah, I went to a little hole in the wall place in Texas that was literally like a Mexican place, and it was like the best food in the world. It was like a real taco, and that was so taco.
Yeah. All right. Well, then how about what are we going to have with the taco? Beer or wine?
Wine. I don't like beer.
I think you're a white wine girl. Am I right?
I go, you know what? I used to say red more, but naturally, I actually like white better. The taste of white wine better. Yeah.
All right. It's safe on my show to say you go both ways. I won't take that out of any context. I told you we'd have fun. How about this one? This is a strange one, but I wanted to throw it in for you because of where you live. Amusement park or water park?
Amusement park.
Yeah. I'm like I'm a Ferris wheel and guy now, but in the old days it was roller coasters and all that for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
My next one is I knew you did something in music. I knew you did stuff around music. So who is the greatest, shall we say, Canadian rock band? Nickelback or Rush?
Oh, I'm going to have to say Rush, or my friends and family would kill me. They were all like, oh, Rush.
I'm sorry. I was trying. I know everybody's going to say Rush, but I was trying to find a band to go against Rush. And I'm like, you can't put Nickelback up against Rush. There's no way, guys. Right?
I had my best friend in high school. My best male friend in high school was like a Rush obsessor. So he had like, you go to his place and he'd be like, no, but listen to the lyrics. And he'd be reading me the lyrics. So I have to say Rush for them.
The two longest, and most people don't know this, the two longest bands, in other words, the three members of the band have been together the longest. Number 2 is Rush from Canada. Number 1 is ZZ Top from Texas.
Oh, really? ZZ Top?
The members have been, the ZZ Top, 3 members have been together since 1969. Rush, only because they switched drummers in 74, is the second. Otherwise, Rush would have been the leader.
Wow, that's a long time to be. Can you imagine being the same job for that long?
I know. But if you love what you do and you love the people, you know what I mean? You got to think about it. ZZ Top and Rush
that's a testament to the personalities too, because look at how long the Beatles lasted in terms of an actual working band, 63 to 69.
Yeah, you're right. So my next 2 are the most controversial questions that I like to enter my show on. And the next one is toilet paper. Over on the roll or under?
I think it's over. I have to think about it for a second.
Now I really love you, Tracy, because it doesn't matter, it sounds like.
I have to go like this side to picture. Wait a minute. What am I doing when I'm putting it in?
Tracy, I've had people on this show who are like all peace and love and calm and rainbows and unicorns. I ask them that question and they come out with fangs. Yeah.
What? That's a sensitive question?
I'm like, you were all love and unicorns a minute ago and you're like, over. I'm like, really? And my last one is, I guess this is what you'd like to see on your man. I don't know. Maybe you wear, I don't know, but boxers or briefs?
Oh, boxers.
Cool. See, it's not that hard to quiz.
I don't know.
Yep. Tracy, one more time, tell them your website so that they can find you online.
So LamourieMedia.com. That's LAMOURIE media.com.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today, all right, and sharing your information with my guests. It's been an honor to have you and get to know you.
Thank you so much. It was kind of fun. Thanks, Tim, and stay in touch.
Cool. To you, the listener, I want to thank you guys for listening in today. Go to LamourieMedia.com. Check this girl out. Come on, man. Look at how much fun we had on today's podcast. You've got to go become friends with her and get to know her. And if you need her products and services, by all means, now's the opportunity to take advantage of her and her business. I'm Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show. Be sure and subscribe to us on Apple, our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time with another great guest. In the meantime, have a great day